from Ticker TV, this is Morning Express with Ahron Young, live from YBF Ventures in Bourke Street, Melbourne.
Understanding self-leadership can be a make or break skill in running a business. Expecting of others what you don't expect from yourself can be a one-way ticket down the startup drain. Karen Gately is a sensei from Corporate Dojo and joins us here in the studio. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Self-leadership, when you're starting a business, is incredibly important. One of the first things, pieces of advice that was given for me was you need to make sure that you are self-motivated, but also self-leadership comes into play too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, being self-motivated is part of self-leadership. At the end of the day, self-leadership is about owning it and choosing to lead yourself in terms of setting clear expectations for yourself, holding yourself accountable.
And so the expectations, the number one thing I think of is making sure that even though you have a choice of your work hours, that you are fulfilling your day.
That's right. That's right.
Because some people can either say, this is wonderful, after the first 4 weeks of running your business, of working hammer and tong 18 hours a day.
That's right.
So now I can have a sleep in.
That's
but
right.
It just doesn't work that way.
That's right. So, the heart of self-leadership is discipline. And discipline is made a lot easier when we know why we're doing something. So when we choose to invest in something and we're passionate about that, and the morning comes along and we think to ourselves, I'm just going to sleep in, I really can't get out of bed. It's that ability to say, well, hold on a minute, what expectation did you set of yourself? What promise did you make to yourself about the outcome you want to achieve? And you're just going to roll out of bed and keep moving and make this thing happen, or not? And that's when the coaching comes in. We're actually having conversations with yourself about what choices are you going to make, what choice are you going to make about how you're thinking, how you're feeling, and ultimately how you're behaving, and the outcome you're going to create as a consequence.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because it really affects other people, their view, of your leadership, how you treat yourself, and how you... I remember a former CEO who would come back from, who I used to work for, who would come back from holidays and would go straight to work. Wouldn't take time off. Would literally, the plane would touch down and would go straight into the office, and I'd say, aren't you tired? And he's like, of course I'm tired, but you've got to push through. That was what he wanted to teach other people, and to have that self-discipline. Give us some examples of what self-leadership is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's being able to observe how your thoughts and emotions are impacting your actions and what that means for your reputation, as we've said, your ability to influence others, your ability to inspire others. So in that particular example, the only caution I would add is let's make sure we're also teaching people about healthy balance, because energy and mental health are all incredibly important enablers of our success. But at the same time, what you're seeing in that behaviour is, a great example of commitment, of courage to push through and to keep going when it's necessary. That executive might have also thought, you know what, I need to keep myself awake anyway. I might as well be in the office.
And there's probably that so much needs to be done when you get back and you're a chief executive, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So talk to us about the importance for the team to see that their leader is able to lead themselves.
Well, again, lead by example. We hear all the time how important that is. The reason it matters is because it profoundly impacts trust and it profoundly impacts respect. And our ability to influence anybody, their behaviours, what they choose to be, comes down to their willingness to let us. And their willingness to let us is absolutely impacted by the extent to which they respect the way we are.
If we practice what we preach.
That's right. So if they can see that we actually do put into action what we expect of others, that we hold ourselves accountable, that we're willing to look in the honesty mirror, for example, and own our mistakes and, step up to be the best version of ourselves, then other people are more likely to want to follow us, want to emulate
and to be honest,
our
that feels like it's more likely to happen in a small business where you're kind of friends, right? So a bunch of people, startups, get together and they want to work with each other, and there are the obvious tensions that can happen about direction and things at the beginning, but you do respect each other, you like each other, which is the reason you got into business with each other. But from a corporate level, that can be quite difficult, where there's this barrier that has been put in place between the executive floor, the working floor, there's HR in there somewhere, there's middle management in there somewhere. It's very hard to see what your boss does, aside from every now and then when they jump on the bandwagon of something which is a special day, like Are You OK Day, things like that, and that's the only time you get to see the real them, but it's just not good enough.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I was very fortunate to grow up in an organisation that understood that incredibly well. So the Vanguard Group was founded by leaders that recognise the importance of culture being created by every level of leader through the organisation. So there's a lot of focus on how do we ensure that every leader, from a supervisor to a team leader to a line manager to a senior manager to the CEO, is living the same values. And at the heart of that organisation's values was self-leadership. Own it. And so as leaders, to address directly what you were saying, we need to be visible. We actually need to be connected with our organisations. We need to get out there and showcase what it means to be a leader. And the managing director that I worked with was a great example of work ethic. Just a really solid person in terms of just always there, turning up, giving it a go, very calm, considered
So aside
character.
from work ethic, what other leadership skills are good leadership skills?
Well, I think in terms of character traits or the qualities, I think integrity is absolutely key. People need
trust.
Absolutely need to trust that you are an honest, honourable, decent human being.
Yeah.
So that's key. If people don't trust that integrity, then we've got a lot of issues, clearly. I also think that we need to be seen as somebody that is compassionate. We understand the human equation and condition, and can be trusted to be kind and considerate. But I think we also need to demonstrate strength and courage.
How do you make sure, though, when it comes to that leadership and the integrity that you were talking about, everyone has a personal life, and things can often go wrong in personal lives that weren't predictable, that weren't seen, and we live in a world these days where management or people in power or positions of power, their personal life is fair game. You think of there's a bunch of CEOs who've gotten themselves into trouble because of things that have been going on outside of their lives. How do you make sure that you don't lose a great manager because something was going on in their life? Or are they connected?
I don't think people step out of their home suit into their work one. We are one person.
Right,
so what's going on in life is very likely to impact the way we are at work. And that includes our reputation. So I grew up in the martial arts, and one of the things we learn as a sensei is you're never off duty. If you are down the street, or you're in a pub, or you're in a shopping centre, it doesn't matter where you are. If your student crosses your path, you need to be behaving in a way that you can be proud of.
Yes.
So the martial arts is a journey of self-mastery all the time. It's not just when your students are watching.
Yeah.
So again,
and that's a really interesting point, because the one thing that we haven't really spoken too much about is that you are a sensei, and you've learned a lot of these lessons from that. So give us some other points about self-leadership that you have learned from that.
Well, I think at the heart of it is nobody can make you a black belt. You have to become one. And you learn that very early, that your sensei can coach you, they can guide you, they can encourage you, they can hold you accountable, they can, kick you up the proverbial, they can bring discipline into your life.
But it's respect.
But at the end of the day, absolutely, you are going to be influenced by that sensei when you respect them. But a sensei takes emotional ownership for your success as a human being. So we really want our student to be the best version of themselves. So you learn in becoming a black belt, in being a sensei, that the student has to own it. They have to own how they're thinking, how they're feeling, and the depth of their real commitment to the journey that they're on. And life happens, tough things happen. And so of course we are kind and considerate when those things come along, but we're also unwavering in our encouragement that people step up and own it, see the tough stuff in life, recognise that they can actually conquer this or deal with this, and choose to.
Wonderfully put. Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Karen Gately there from Corporate Dojo, and a sensei, as we say. Karen will be joining us every week as we launch Morning Express over coming weeks. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ticker. We'll have more for you right throughout the day.